Leicester host West Ham this weekend, a 5:30 kick-off on Saturday evening. West Ham are coming off two not great results, in particular against London rivals of Tottenham last weekend. And maybe that curse has come back to affect West Ham with another long-term injury in our squad, with Yarmolenko rupturing his Achilles tendon. Leicester have got 50-50 performance this year. They've won 4 games, they've lost 5, they've scored 15, they've conceded 15, so they're conceding goals. Positive to take from something. But I did mention that we are cursed with injuries. Look, are we? Is it the West Ham? Is that the West Ham way? With the news that Yarmolenko is out now?
It fucking seems so, doesn't it? I mean, let's face it, it's like one after the other. And if it is a West Ham way, it's a fucking frustrating way. Excuse my French, but yeah, if I'm honest, I was at the game on Saturday, and when I saw Yarmolenko go down, I didn't actually know who it was. There was a load of kerfuffle from the corner, but people who witnessed it saw Arnie, who was right next to him, immediately signal for immediate medical attention and action, which, you know, they always say if the teammates know it's bad, you know, then they say there's no chance to get him off quickly. It's just frustrating. I mean, fundamentally, you know, that's what it's Carroll. You know, Hernandez has only just come back from injury, so it's going to take some while to get back. But you've got Lanzini out as well. Yarmolenko, you know, apart from the Everton game, has kind of not really hit the ground running at the moment. So it's just, again, it's frustrating at West Ham. You know, it's 2 steps, 1 step forward, 2 steps back again. So yeah, we are cursed in my opinion. It seems like it anyway.
Still, look. Said there about Yarmolenko not hitting the ground running. What's your thoughts on Yarmolenko's performance this season so far, and then obviously the impact of him being injured? Your opinion?
I kind of agree with Luke. He hasn't really sort of performed consistently, but you could see what he's capable of. And I think at the start of the season, when he was only coming on, you know, as a sub, we were all quite frustrated and wanted to see him start a full game. And then he has started, and then the Everton game, and I just thought that, you know, he was just picking up momentum, and you know, another few more weeks and he'll be flying. But this injury's come along, you know, and it is frustrating. It's Pellegrini brought a player in to cover two players per position. And now that's beginning to falter. You know, we lost Sanchez, we've lost Wiltshire, and now we've lost Yarmolenko. And it's beginning to leave the squad a little bit thin, really. And it's a shame, because I like Yarmolenko. You could see that he could, you know, on the day he could actually make things happen. So it is a bit frustrating.
I think we will see him before the end of the season, though, because I think we're lucky enough in the modern day that, you know, the first thing they did was they've taken him away and they've repaired it through surgery. So coming from someone who has ruptured his Achilles tendon, didn't receive surgery, and had the ability to be able to play football at yes my standard after 6 months, I fully expect him to be back. The issue is it's come at such a, you know, integral part of the season at the end of October, coming into a busy Christmas period. And I'm a fan of Yarmolenko. I'm gutted, but I suppose one player we can't fault his rate. We mentioned him and discussed him in our review at the weekend. Still is Robert Snodgrass. We have to be honest. I mean, I'll be honest. I was impressed when what he did against Tottenham at the weekend. He showed fight. He showed desire. He had great balls going into the box. What are your thoughts? And is it the right man to step in?
I'll give him credit where credit's due. You know, he's certainly. See, that's what happens when you talk about Snodgrass. He's certainly a trier. He's certainly willing to get in there, get stuck in, and I'm impressed by that. Absolutely. Has he got the technical skill that the likes of Yarmolenko have got? It remains to be seen. I don't think. His desire is absolutely there, but I just don't think he's technically gifted enough. But given that our squad is depleted with a number of injuries, he'll start because he's got the right attitude. And I don't have a problem with that. You know, at West Ham, we always say we all love a trier. We all love someone that's going to put their all in, is going to give his best. And yeah, credit to Snodgrass. That's exactly what he's doing. Technically, I just don't think he's Premier League standard, and I won't shirt from that. I've said that before, and I maintain that. But all credit to his ability, to the fact that he wants to get his foot in there and give his all. Absolutely.
Look, I've been on the same wavelength as Stell regarding Snodgrass. I don't think he's technically gifted enough to maintain his position in the side. Although, like Stell said, I will hold my hands up and admit when I think someone's performed well. He does give it his all. But I felt like I seen a bit of a different Snodgrass at the weekend. West Ham got beat, but I felt like we took the game to Tottenham. And I felt like we did see a bit of his ability shine through in the game against Tottenham. Especially in particular, you compare it. Well, it's a bad comparison to compare him against Anderson, but especially at the weekend. But what's your thoughts on Snodgrass, Luke, moving forward?
I think there's a couple of points on him. First of all, I admire the guy immensely. First of all, coming back to the way he was treated last season, the comments made by the board, he's come back, he's proved himself. And one little thing I think he hasn't really been picked up by a lot of fans or a lot of pundits this season is the fact that little things like when he comes across to take a corner and the fans are clapping him, he claps them back. And he's one of the very few players who actually do that and acknowledge the fans for giving support. Technically, I actually think he's quite a technically good player. I mean, look at it this way, right? He's not got the skill, but then who has in the team? Anderson's shown a few little bit of neat tricks here and there, but apart from that, there's no one else doing it. When you get a free kick now, you kind of going, okay, well, let Snodgrass take it because he's technically gifted in an area. He's got a decent cross on him. He runs about. He's not shirked anything this season. He's been, the fans have been clapping him non-stop, but he just runs after the ball all the time. And he's out for blood this season. He's out to prove himself. Having said that, I do, 1000% agree with both of you that he probably, if the current squad was fully fit, he probably wouldn't stand a chance really of getting in and looking. But then the same can be said for Antonio. And Antonio's been getting a bit of game time this year as well. Given the two of them,
not for much longer, I don't think.
Yeah,
mate.
that's the thing. But with the current predicament, I'm a fan of Snodgrass. I'd love to see him play. But of course, there is the mention. You're probably going to bring this up later on as well. But there's a certain youth player called Diangana is coming through. So perhaps it's down to Pellegrini now whether he wants to go through experience and exuberance in Snodgrass, or go for some youth and unexplored talent in Diangana. But for me, in a nutshell, I like Snodgrass, and I think he should get more of a chance this season as well. Definitely.
You mentioned there Antonio. Still, talk to me about Antonio. And do you think he will be at the club in January? Even and considering what I will say is the injury list that West Ham currently have.
I think because of the injury list, he probably will still be there, unless we get decent money for him and buy someone to replace him. Don't know what's happened with Antonio. I mean, we were in the review on Saturday. A couple of guys on the review said they thought he played all right. Maybe I'm comparing him to the Antonio that we know going back to when we were at the Boleyn. He's not the same player. And I remember as far as technical ability is concerned, he's probably got even less than Snodgrass has. All we remember Antonio to do is knock the ball forward, and he runs after it. And because of his pace and because of his strength, he always managed to beat a player and all that sort of stuff. He's not even doing that anymore. He did put a couple of decent crosses in, half decent crosses in on Saturday, but he's just not being consistent. And I don't know whether his nose is out of joint because he's not starting, or what. But he's not the player that we know of from a couple of seasons back. He's having an average season at best. And let's not forget, Pellegrini did use him at the start of the season. He was playing him, so it's not as if he hasn't had a chance. He's had chances, and he just doesn't seem to be doing it. Whether the player himself doesn't want to be there or not, I don't know. But it's funny. I can't remember which one of you guys said it, or whether I read it on social media. where when Antonio was the sub coming on, someone said, "Oh, well, that's the game over then." That's what we now think of Antonio. When Antonio comes on, we're thinking that the game is done for. Because that's the best we've got on the bench to actually bring on. And what a shame, because I want the guy to succeed, because he's given us some good memories, especially the last season at the Bowling. He gave us some wonderful memories, but maybe he doesn't want to be there. I don't know. And Luke mentioned earlier, there's a young chap called Diangana who wants to prove himself, who actually wants to come on and prove himself.
And looks exciting.
Exactly.
So, it's funny, and maybe I'm reading into this too much, but when the substitutions get made, say at the stadium, they do the player walk up to the screen, and I do remember I don't know if maybe they had a bit of humour about it last year, but when I looked at Antonio's one, it looked like he was disinterested. I could be really reading into something here, but he really did look disinterested. Anyway, just on the chat on midfielders. Everyone knows there's the West Ham Way podcast that's out, and it's obviously been released tonight, and there's a lot of talk about players that West Ham are interested in January. So before we move on to the Leicester game, there's a few players that West Ham are interested in. Mario's back in the frame from Inter Milan on loan. He's not getting game time at Inter Milan. He obviously knows the club, so that could be an option to re-sign him. Just to let you know, Pedro Obiang doesn't look like he's going to make the game on Saturday either. He's still got a calf strain, hasn't picked up his training yet for the to get back fitness. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is another player that we're looking potentially to sign, and lastly, supposedly Victor Moses to return to the club from Chelsea. Luke, what are your thoughts on some of the names I've mentioned
there? I wouldn't mind. I wasn't a fan of Jean Mario last season, even when he was doing pretty well towards the end of the season with us, scored a couple of goals and looking, a bit lively here and there. I just didn't. I think it was a bit too lightweight. Looked a bit clueless in some areas. But I tell you what we're lacking severely is creativity through the middle. And we've got that trio in the middle of Noble, Rice, and Obiang. Obviously, Obiang being excellent right now, but none of them really, apart from Obiang, have got that sort of, let's go forward through the middle. It's all, let's pass it to Anderson, or let's pass it to Zabaleta, or let's just get it through one of the wings, or pump it through to Arnautovic for him to try and make the play up top. And we haven't really got that sort of Lanzini. I know obviously he's obviously injured at the minute, but there's no one like him in the midfield to go, I'm actually an out-and-out attacker. I don't defend. I don't come back. I need to go and make openings. So perhaps if João Mario was to come in, he would thrive possibly under Pellegrini, and we'd see the best out of him.
And look, while you're on that, I'll pass this one to you still, because I stood beside you for a couple of games last year, and we were talking about João Mario, and in particular, obviously the last game of the season, nothing to play for, but he managed to grow into the season, in my opinion, and I know you thought something similar on João Mario.
Yeah, I liked him. I do actually agree with Luke. I think he can be a bit lightweight, but I actually like him because maybe it's just because I like flair players. I quite enjoy. Hang on, the cat's in the way. I quite enjoy seeing players, running past people, doing those, deft little flicks, getting the better of another player because of their skill and all that sort of stuff. I like all that. So. João Mario is the sort of player that I would normally favour. However, being in the position we're in, the other two names that you've mentioned, ironically enough, I'd sooner go for Victor Moses and Loftus-Cheek at this point than I would João Mario. And the reason for that being is I think, Luke just touched on it about being lightweight. I think our midfield, and I know Victor Moses is a winger. I know, he's more of a wide player, but our midfield, I'm really disappointed to hear that Obiang's injured, is because our midfield is really lightweight at the moment. And I'm sorry, lads, I'm going to come back to this again. Mr. Mark Noble can't have one good game and then 4 or 5 bad games, because I was quite kind of hoping that he would get dropped for Saturday if Obiang was playing, because we need, we all talk about, having a strong midfield, etc., and we need a leader. Mark Noble can't be a leader when he decides to be a leader. He has to be a leader at every single game. He's the captain of the team, and it is disappointing to hear that Obiang's not going to play on Saturday, because that guarantees Mark Noble's place. But I would have someone like Loftus-Cheek in there who actually can run at defenders. You know, he's got that sort of.
He is the player out of those three names that I would be most excited about. The one player that I want to. I mean, like, we need to also remember Victor Moses has played for West Ham, and I felt like when he first started his career with us, he did do really, really well. He got to his halfway point with us, and I don't know what happened, but for me, if you get closer to the end of the last season at Upton Park, he was getting booed off the park. In particular, the Swansea game before the second last home game of the season, he was dog shit.
Yeah.
And he was awful. He was really, really bad, and all West Ham fans were calling for him to leave. Okay, you know, he's performed reasonably well since he's left, but I just think, like, maybe for West Ham we need to move forward. And a bit like with the whole Mario situation, we were all impressed with Loftus-Cheek at the World Cup. We were all impressed with him last year, and maybe he's someone. It's a bit, like you said, he's got a bit of beef about him. He can get stuck in, and I mean, another question I want to bring to you is: do we as a club currently regret not taking a chance on a player like Yaya Toure when we've got all these injuries? Over to you, Luke. I know what you're going to say still.
Personally, if it happened under the circumstances that they were saying, I'd have taken Yaya Toure all day long, because what him and his agent were saying about, if he doesn't play well, he'll pay the money back and stuff like that. He had an attitude problem. But you remember where this guy's played. He's played for Barcelona. He's played at Man City, where they enjoyed success. He was an integral part of that midfield. Yeah, he was getting older, but for me, this whole age thing gets boring, because players are playing for longer nowadays, and it's not just about how much you can move nowadays. It's about what you bring to the team. You know, get up there intelligence-wise. And if you look at our squads, put it this way, right? I would have preferred him over Sanchez, and then they'll also have to Sanchez. Sanchez is injured, and he wasn't even playing that well, to be fair, before he got injured. So yeah. Just in your previous point about Victor Moses, I'd have Moses over Creswell, because I wasn't impressed with Creswell again on Saturday. And for me, Masuaku's wasted at left back, and Loftus-Cheek, I'd take him on loan, definitely.
That's funny, because on that point with Creswell, I actually thought he'd done all right with the.
He wasn't shit.
I felt like he connected reasonably well with Snodgrass.
Strangely, I think the reason why we felt he'd done better is because we've seen Masuaku do a lot worse. So it kind of made us feel that the left back position was in a little bit more of a solid state with Creswell, because at least he is a defender. But I thought he did all right. But he didn't. You know, we got to understand it was the first game. You know, his first full game for quite some time. And I like to see the old. Well, here we go again. A bit like Antonio. I like to see the old Creswell come back. You know, because when he was on fire, he was on fire. He was a great player.
Just on that point. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but West Ham put out a video today going back to the last season of the bowling. We beat Chelsea 2-1, and Carroll gets the winner from a Creswell cross, and it was a big debate in the group chat we had earlier on, but you could tell generally how much Creswell was dropped, both in confidence and ability-wise. The way he just plucks out a pinpoint perfect dipping cross for Carroll to hit. If he'd done that now, you would see his whole body for every ounce.
In my opinion, his head was turned though.
By who?
Liverpool.
Oh, that's bollocks. That never happened.
It may not, but he knew there was, whether it was real or not. For me, that's got to be the only way that he can drop form to that ability, because he was getting called up for England.
This is what I'm saying. When he played for England, he wasn't great when he played, or I don't think he had performances, but. Maybe you got a point with Liverpool thing, but I can't see that personally. I just think he's just dropped.
I don't think it would happen now, obviously, but his performance
he's had the drop in performance that Antonio has had since we moved stadiums. It's like they've both left their ability up to par.
It's so true. Yeah. It's so true.
It really is. Listen,
no idea why.
We've obviously got Leicester City this weekend. We talked about them briefly before we came on, so let's talk about them now. They've come off 2 defeats recently. Last out, they got beat by Arsenal 3-1, and previous to that, they got beat by Everton 2-1. But in particular, there's a couple of players we want to talk about, but one in particular is Maddison of Leicester City. Still, and Luke, whoever wants to go first, what do you know of him, and do we fear a player like that?
Go on, Luke.
I'll quickly do mine. Which is a shock for me. I watched the Arsenal game the other night, and especially in the first half, if Leicester were going to get a goal, it was going to be through him. He's a fantastic free kick taker. He's up and coming for England. I'm not selling him to West Ham fans because it is a bit gay that we didn't get him in the summer. But we've got to worry about him because he's a creative threat in the middle. And I kind of always think West Ham sort of suffer with that. If you've got someone in the middle who can sort of carve out openings, they're a quick team, and he doesn't take much to pick out a pass. And I get scared talking about him now because I'm just wondering what he's going to do to us on Saturday. Because I'm not greatly confident West Ham combating him, but he's a fantastic player, and for me, he's Leicester have been on this sort of Vardy Mahrez thing ever since they won the league a few years back, and he's kind of he looks like almost like a new Mahrez in the way that he's playing, but he's more central, whereas Mahrez is a winger. So if you're asking me, I'm worried about Maddison greatly at the weekend.
To combat what Luke said, still. Let's discuss Diop and Balbuena at the back for West Ham, because for me personally,
revelation.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to give Hammer of the Year at this stage of the year, at this stage of the season, it's either going to be Fabianski or it's going to be Diop. Because Diop is an absolute master at defending.
And the tackling is just unreal.
The tackling, absolutely. The one tackle in the first half when Kane looked like he was going to be on goal, and he just stuck his foot out and just cleanly got the ball. Absolutely, absolutely superb.
And seeing that tackle still, what I loved about it even more was when he got the ball slightly slipped away from him. 2 West Ham players were closer, and Diop commanded that they do not touch that fucking ball because he was going to collect it, and he played it out from the back, which is a proper centre-half.
I tell you, lads, this will be the West Ham way. We'll fuck around this season. We won't do well. No. And at the end of the season, Man U will fucking come and buy him. That'll be the West Ham way. That'll be typical of us. We have got to, how old is he?
21.
21.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. What a player he's going to be, Do you know,
just on him, just quickly, I don't want to interrupt there still, but there was a moment in the Tottenham game where I think they put either Lamela or Eriksen through. I think it was in the first half. And it was between Diop and Lamela or Harry Kane, whoever it was. And I just sat back in my seat, relaxed, because I thought, no, there's no chance of getting past Diop. And I'm getting to that point now where I'm looking at him and going, do you know what the most ironic thing as well was? This is the most ironic thing that I could have done. When Sissoko got the ball, no, around that, just before Tottenham scored their goal, I probably shouldn't have thought it, but I thought I couldn't be more confident in my centre-backs, in the centre-backs we've got, just getting us through to half-time at least 0-0, and then obviously Tottenham scored. But genuinely, throughout that game, I looked at it going, we lost 2 games 1-0. But apart from that, there was nothing. I didn't see anything from Diego going. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, talk about Balbuena as well, because on Saturday, we got beat by that goal, but that was it. We just got beat by that goal. There was nothing else that Tottenham couldn't get through those 2. Diop was doing all these fancy tackles, and he was brilliant at doing them. Cam collected whatever, but Balbuena at the same time. What I loved about Balbuena was he collects the ball and he can move from the defence to the midfield very, very quickly. He's extremely pacey. I couldn't believe it actually when I was.
You can see now why he's called the General or something like that.
General.
He is a confident player. And I remember we were talking about this guy when we signed him up, and we were all saying, he could be a surprise package, and he's proven to be that. Fucking bargain for what, £3-4 million, whatever it was. And between the two of them, they are a really, really, the only part of defence we've got to worry about is fucking left back. Because even Zabaleta is rolling back the years. Keeping Fredericks out of the team.
And do you know what? Still, he's rolling back the years because he feels confidence in the players that are beside him.
Exactly.
And that is true.
Absolutely.
And that's
He's not got to do double the amount of work that he had to do last season.
Which is what Bonner did to him, unfortunately.
Well, let's not go there. But anyway.
Fucking hell. Viewers don't deserve it.
Can I tell you something, though?
He was playing on the other side of the field to Bonner. Don't make me call you something I shouldn't on live
no, go for
YouTube.
it.
No.
Do you know what? Isn't it funny that, there's not a huge amount of positives to take, but we talk about those three particular players and we both smirk. We all three of us smirk, and we're all quite, quietly confident about these players, and we just think, God, if we could mix that up with the rest of the team, the confidence that would ooze.
Do you know what? I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but our problem is still midfield. That's it. I'm afraid. We fought. It's really. Go on, Luke. Go on.
Anderson.
Well, I'm going to come on to him.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for it because it's the midfield is bad. Yes, Well, you say midfield is a problem, right? Rice for me has been outstanding.
Yes, and do you know what he was?
Agreed.
Just very quickly, he went a little bit like an unsung hero, albeit we got beat on Saturday. He was fucking commanding again. He was commanding midfielder that we need. Yeah, brilliant.
I think everyone was waxed lyrical about Noble against Man United and he had a poor game. I don't think he had a poor game against Tottenham. I don't think he had a poor game against Brighton. He maybe wasn't put up the trees that we were expecting him to do because of the captain and stuff. I don't think he was terribly bad against Tottenham. I think he had an average game. I think that's what happens with Noble is that if he's not pulling up trees, we go, oh yeah, he had a shit game.
Yeah, but look, that's what I mean, though, mate. It's like one minute he is pulling up trees. Next minute is like, it was less than average, mate. I mean, he gave the ball away for the goal. He seemed to struggle. Whenever he's got players running at him, he doesn't know what to do, Noble. At least Rice is solid. Rice is a solid player.
To be fair, you could even blame Anderson for the goal because it all stemmed from him.
This is a £40 million player, right? Who has maybe had
real opinion
maybe.
On the goal.
Well, no, it's well, I'm doing it, so you instructed me, but it's £40 million, and when you think about it, hard copy. Payet cost 10 million, and I know financially Marseille sold him to us for less money because they needed the money and whatever like that, right? And I'm not trying to compare the two because you can't really, but he's £40 million worth of money, right? And to us, that is a huge amount compared to what we have spent in the past. That's basically double what we spent on an average. For example, it was a record signing last year. He's come in and he's got one Premier League goal. He's made a pretty good game against Chelsea and whatever you like, and done a bit of skill here and there. But I honestly think that is one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a West Ham player in the time he was on against Tottenham. It was the fact that I don't know if anyone else has in Premier League history, in football history. I know people have probably seen it on Sunday League pitches, but it's getting to be almost like a common thing now with corner kick takers. They can't beat the first man. Creswell was evident of that last year when he used to take corners as well. But it was borderline pathetic when it was mirror image every single corner was and no one thought, let's take the ball off him. Oh well, finally Snodgrass went over and done it. But even then, his first touch was awful. And you get to the point of thinking, okay, he seemed like he was getting up to the pace. He seemed like he was getting used to the pace and the physicality of it. You think, finally, right, he's starting to show his colours now. Boom, straight back down. It wasn't even that bad against Brighton, and it was a bad game for him. But he was awful on against Tottenham on Saturday.
I just want to jump in there still because it was one of the worst performances I've seen from a West Ham player for a long time. But the benefit, what I clocked from that whole situation was Pellegrini pulled him off. And there was nothing that Anderson was going to do that game that was going to be positive. He just went to work that day and had the worst day. And we all have that as human beings. And okay, yeah, he's a £40 million player and we don't expect it. But that's just exactly what happened. And when you mentioned there about the corners, the funny thing is, you look at all the other games he's played, I actually think his delivery from corners has been fantastic. So when I seen his deliveries from this corner at the weekend, it was a bit like, this guy is not at the races today. I was sitting beside my brother, who's not a massive football fan. He loves West Ham, not a massive football fan. And he kept saying to me, "What is that guy all about?" And I felt like I had to keep trying to justify to him that, you know what, he needs a bit more time. He needs this, he needs that. And I still think he is, and I don't want to be that guy. I don't think
My
West
point.
Ham. Well, quickly though, I don't think West Ham should drop Anderson for the Leicester game. Absolutely not. I think he needs more time.
This is the talk. Rather than me, sorry, Steve, I was going to quickly say.
Go on, mate. Go on, yeah.
My point, rather than just say he was shit, and not come out with a suggestion, it has been suggested before. He hasn't really had the chance to play there. Would it be something to think about on Saturday against Leicester to have Snodgrass on the right, Diangana on the left, and Anderson through the middle, just behind and out a bit?
Well, that's an interesting thing because he's going to have to change it. He's going to have to replace Pellegrini. He's going to have to replace Yarmolenko. So we'll probably come. We're probably going to. Where's Ant gone?
Yeah, that noise has come up. Yeah,
we'll probably come to our team selections in a minute, but that's an option because he had one of his best games was against Arsenal when he played down the middle. And he really he really looked comfortable there. Really looked like he was enjoying it. He was fizzing the ball around, picking up the ball from midfield, deep midfield, and moving it forward, quite pacey, etc. And he was really, really good against Arsenal, despite the fact that we lost the way we lost. But that was one of his better games. And Pellegrini's going to have a decision to make. He either starts with Diangana, he either starts with Hernandez. He's going to have to start with one of those two, because no way can he start with Antonio. Snodgrass is confirmed. You can safely say Snodgrass will start. Anderson, I kind of agree with Ant. I think Pellegrini would have worked with him this week. I bloody well hope so. And made sure Anderson knows what Pellegrini wants from him. So I guess he will start. But he could play down the middle. I think you're right, Luke. I think he could really command a position there, with Arnautovic up front. But that would mean that we won't have Hernandez on. It will mean having to start Diangana, But I don't mind that. I think the boy would do all right if he was given a start.
Absolutely. We've touched, I suppose, we've done quite a lot of chatting here tonight. We've got Leicester at the weekend. We've briefly touched on Leicester, Maddison. But the thing is, they're conceding goals, and I think that's the one positive we need to look at that. They've actually conceded more goals than West Ham. We've both got a decent run of games coming up. Games that we could potentially, on paper, we should be getting some points from.
Absolutely.
But let's throw over to you, Luke, before we go. Let's go for some predictions for this weekend.
What, score-wise or team-wise?
Should we discuss the team? I thought we kind of...
Yeah, sorry, I'll go. I'll just start 11. Already more or less put out. I thought we said. So, by the way, just a quick mention to Hernandez, because what a goal that was. Unfortunately, didn't stand, but I thought it was a great finish considering the fact it was offside. And
it was, yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Anyway, right, Fabianski as it goes. If Masuaku is still injured, then Creswell, which is probably the most comfortable choice to go with. The rest of the defence speaks for itself, so I won't even go on to that. Middle should be, for me, Rice and Noble. Anderson just through the middle. Snodgrass on the right, Diangana on the left, which is a bit of actually thinking about it. Maybe Antonio just for experience, but do you know what? I don't want to I'd like to risk it, actually. I'd like to risk it with Diangana, just throw him in the deep end in a small way. And then big man on up front.
Excellent. Over to you, Stel. Same. Anyone you disagree with?
More or less the same. Yeah. Creswell will start. I don't really want Noble to start, but he will because we've got the injuries. And I can't
leave him alone.
Yeah, right. I can't honestly decide if he's going to start with Hernandez or Diangana. If he starts with Hernandez, Anderson will play out wide, and Snodgrass will play out wide, and Arnautovic will play just off Hernandez. That won't be too bad. If he starts with Diangana, I can see Anderson playing just behind Arnautovic. So that'd be the only change for me.
And I'm not saying I want this change, but I think we'll see a bit more of Hernandez this weekend. because obviously he needs the game time as well. But let's just go straight to predictions. Luke.
Ooh, I'm going to go with 2-1 West Ham. I can see Maddison scoring a free kick or just scoring a goal. And then, why do I do goal scores all the time? I do. Now that I've slagged him off and now I've given him the best, I think Anderson will probably score a 40-yard screamer, top corner, top bins. And then let's have it. Probably Creswell, as I've slagged him off again as well. He'll probably cut up the goal as well. So, yeah, 2-1.
2-1. Take that. Still.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2-1 as well. I think we have. I think we have to win on Saturday. But you're right. We've got about all the games between now and the end of this calendar year, apart from say Man City, on paper should all be winnable. So just for good measure, we'll beat Man City and lose to everybody else around us. That's what'll happen. But I'll go with 2-1. I'd love to see Diangana get a Premier League goal if he starts or if he comes on. And ironically, I'm going to go with Anderson as well. Because Arnie's not got his shooting boots on at the moment, whether he's been lucky or just very unlucky. But I'd like to see him get a goal. But given it's 2-1, Anderson and if he comes on, Diangana.
I'm going 2-0 West Ham, clean sheet, and big bullet header, which I've been predicting since the start of the season from Diop and an Anderson.
So we're all saying Anderson.
Do you know what? We need to back the guy. I like him. I do like him, and I just feel sorry for him. He had a shit game.
He just had a shit game.
Yeah, he did.
But this is his last chance, because not last chance, but if he doesn't perform on Saturday, he'll be on the bench. Yeah. I don't think Pellegrini will give a shit whether he's 40 million or 4 million.
Yeah.
He'll be on the bench.
Excellent. Make sure you do the usual. Subscribe to our channel. Make sure you follow our partners at Umbro and you go to the Ribman of London and get involved with them. We are obviously filming at the Supporters Club, so become a member. Great day out. They do pictures of beer, and as you'll see from the review, I decided to drink from the picture because we couldn't find any pint glasses. But it's a great day out, and yeah, get involved with them. I have been saying this for a long time. We do actually have a competition. We've actually got it in. So there'll be a home top, West Ham home top, going up for a competition over these coming days. So keep an eye on our pages. Anyway, over there has been Luke. In the middle has been Stel. I've been Anton. Come on, you Irons, and let's get behind the guys on Saturday.
Irons.